Even though there was only two people in the race, and so that might, somewhat matter, they're sitting there trying to say that the Young Masters campaign of 2015 was the biggest gap that there was, because it was essentially 80-20, something like that, between Conway and Young. So 80-20, we got 20%. But looking at this Bevin, Goforth, Woods, and the Republican primary, Matt Bevin is kicking everybody's ass, but he's at 56%. He's not at 80%. And then Goforth has 18%, and he's in second place, which means that second place is doing worse than the Young Masters campaign in 2015. So this just, to me, if you're going to believe the polls, they are, plus or minus 5%. They were about 9%, the difference between, so they were off by 4 points, but that still means that they were off. But that's 9%. So if they said plus or minus 10%, maybe that would cover the spread. But 56% to 18, 56% to 18. These are the same numbers, in fact, that you had with Edelen versus Brashear. Baby Brashear is kicking everybody's ass, even Edelen, by the same number, like 55% to 17%, some shit like that. 23% of Republican voters are undecided, so it's only 7 days away, and yet 1 out of 4 Republican voters are like, I don't know who it's going to, really. Is it Ike Lawrence? You're going to wait for William E. Woods? He's going to just go forth, right? So Matt Bevin is beating the shit out of all 3 of these candidates. William E. Woods gets 1.3%. Ike Lawrence gets 1.6%. So they've been knocked out of the race for the most of the duration, and this just looks very bad for them. This is 600 likely Republican voters asked from May 10th to May 12th, so it was just recently that this happened. The poll was released by Signal, CYGNAL. So again, Young Masters had a higher threshold than Robert Goforth does against Bevin, and Jack Conway was higher than Matt Bevin. So Matt Bevin is the most popular, but 56%. Some other numbers that breaks down too. So you have 32% of GOP voters have unfavorable opinion of Bevin. 21% have a very unfavorable opinion of Bevin. So that's actually more than 50% do not like Bevin. More than 53% do not like Bevin. 53% of the Republicans. Some have an unfavorable, 21% have a very unfavorable opinion of Matt Bevin. So even though Matt Bevin's only getting 56%, people aren't rushing to Bevin. They're probably going to look at these other 3 candidates, and the media is probably right on this, but I just don't like how the media picks your candidates before you even see them. Present Ike Lawrence, present William E. Woods, present Robert Goforth to the Republicans and say which one do you like best, but instead Bevin has been boycotting the debate. Goforth won't debate unless Bevin's there, and then that leaves Woods and Lawrence out to dry. KET canceled their debate, even though Lawrence and Woods were both going to go because Bevin and Goforth chose to not do it. GOP voters in Kentucky, only a slight majority support legal medical marijuana, and only a slight majority support legalizing casinos. So 55% somewhat and strongly support legal medical marijuana. 55% medical marijuana. Medical marijuana is actually already legal, so I don't know if they're advocating for the opposite, to make it illegal. 51%, 50.9% somewhat, and strong support for legalizing casinos. So somewhat support, strong support. They both support it, but, just different degrees. So 51% of the GOP voters believe in legalizing casinos, and 55% believe in legal medical marijuana, which is a cowardly and weak position. If you're a candidate, either be against it or be in favor of it. But medical marijuana, CBD, is currently legal in Kentucky. And I've said it a million times, but I'm going to say it again, because if you say medical marijuana, you got to be more specific than just that, because it's already legal. What do you mean by medical? So Adam Edelen is talking about decriminalization. The only people talking about outright legalization for recreation is Jeff Young and John Hicks. the Libertarian candidate and one of the Democratic candidates. So 51% of the GOP voters in the poll released by Signal approve of Bevin on pensions, while 35% somewhat or strongly disagree. So 51% approve of what Matt Bevin has done with pensions, 35%. So he actually raised taxes on 17 services. There was a sewer bill that got knocked down, so it went to Supreme Court, but they were able to, I think Andy Beshear got that sewer bill knocked down. And then there was another bill that Matt Bevin tried to get passed, and even though there's super Republican majorities in both houses, he got stomped like 94-0. So 51%, that's, slight majority of Republicans agree, and only 35% disagree. So there's only, a small amount that are in between. The number one issue for Kentucky Republican voters is to fix the pensions. That's 35% of Kentuckians want to fix the pensions. Another 25% is also. The number one issue for Republican voters in Kentucky is fix the pensions. Number two is the economy and jobs. 25% of the Kentucky GOP will be focusing on the economy and jobs. So some other news, the shit that happened. So Robert Goforth, he claims that he was the first person to file the heartbeat bill in the United States. Ralph Alvarado is Matt Bevin's new lieutenant governor. He kicked Janine Hampton, I guess, off the thing, and so she's not going to have a job anymore. She was the first black African-American woman lieutenant governor of Kentucky. So Ralph Alvarado, the new lieutenant governor running mate, brags that Bevin has brought the lowest unemployment rate to Kentucky for the last 2 decades. There's also $19 billion in new investments. I've heard $18 billion. And then there's 50,000 new jobs, which is 1 new job per 100 Kentuckians. Let's not forget about the $400 million pension fund managers. Let's also not forget about the, other millions of dollars. So Trump is popular in Kentucky, but Matt Bevin isn't. So Matt Bevin is riding Trump's coat. The last piece of information, WDRB had a debate where you had the 3 Democrat candidates, and they were sitting there just talking about a bunch of abortion and Republican shit. And then eventually, they were able to get Rocky Atkins. The people that watched the WDRB debate was all for Rocky Atkins because he's the most Republican. Why would you ever have a Republican entity, debate? That's so crazy. They're going to make sure the progressive Jeff Young isn't even a part of the debate, but they're going to give the sole microphone to WDRB, a Republican corporation, a Republican station. So this little thing, this gnat, is getting on my freaking nerves. So that's essentially it, right? Bevin is beating the shit out of the entire Republican field, so expect him to win. He's winning by more than 30%, but then again, Baby Beshear is beating Edelin, and even though there was a wide margin, you still got 4 candidates in the race, and there's a lot of people that hate Bevin in the Republican Party, but most of them like